While Christmas decor shopping, I came across this garland that I love, but I'm not about to spend $59 on it, so let's see if we can DIY it. After the tutorial, make sure to check out more DIY projects on my channel, like this hot cocoa sign and custom place cards for your holiday celebrations. We'll need a few supplies for this project. The exact ones are linked down in the video description, but in short, we'll be using some star wood cutouts, wood beads with holes, and this is a variety pack of natural wood beads that I got off Amazon. We'll also be using some smaller wood beads with holes. I'm using a silver metallic paint, but you can use any color that you'd like. A small container with a lid, a few painting supplies like paper plates, stirring sticks, and a sponge, some scissors and twine. And I'll be using a heat gun, but if you don't have one, you can always paint your beads using a skewer and a paintbrush. So the first step for our project is to paint our beads. I'm adding a little bit of paint into my small container, then a splash of water to help thin it out, giving it a really good stir. This just helps the paint coat the beads a little bit more easily. Then I add a handful of beads at a time, trying not to do too many and crowd the container, but you'll see as the video goes, I definitely put that to the test. I add my lid and give it a good shake to help coat the beads really well, then I dump them all out into a paper plate along with the excess paint. As I use my heat gun on the low setting, I'm swirling the beads around on the plate so they can continue to pick up more and more paint as they dry. Once they are all dry, I transfer them to a clean plate and set them to the side. I repeat this process over and over till all my beads are painted. For the stars, I just used a sponge to quickly paint both sides, giving each side 2 coats. I let everything dry overnight, however this is not necessary, it was just getting late into the evening and I was not ready to string these hundreds of beads yet, so I waited until the next day. But here they all are. I think they turned out amazing. I just did 1 coat, but you can do as many coats as you'd like just to get a more even coverage. So now we are ready to string our beads. I am going to take some twine that I have on hand. This is a pretty thin twine. Now the package of beads does come with twine, but it is very thick, and I didn't try it just because it just seemed like it would be pretty difficult to try to string the beads with. So I am just using this twine that I have on hand, and I'm adding a loop in it. And now this isn't a very good example. I'm sorry, I did not realize this was not focused on my hands. I actually show this a little bit more clearly towards the end of the video. But basically I'm just making a loop in the end, and then I am tying that about 3 or 4 times to make that knot a little bit more thick so it can hold those beads onto the garland. So one of my goals with making these garlands is using all of the beads. I wasn't exactly sure how many garlands that was going to get me or how long that they were going to be, but I am using all of the beads, and my variety pack came with the majority of these medium-sized beads. So that is the first garland that I am starting with. I'm just going to make it all of these medium-sized beads, and then with the little star dangles on it. So now that all my beads are on my twine, I am going to go ahead and close up the other end, doing the same thing, adding a loop so I can hang these anywhere that I want. To help make the process go a little bit easier of stringing these beads, I just added a little piece of tape to the end, almost to make it kind of like a needle, and that just helps the twine to go through the hole a little bit easier, because if not, this twine does fray pretty bad, and then you end up having to trim and trim and trim till you're pretty much left with nothing. So for the second garland, I'm doing a little bit of a different combination with the beads. I am doing 2 of the smaller ones, 1 of the middle medium one, and then 1 of the bigger one, then jumping back over to the medium one, then 2 smaller ones for it to look something like this. So for my third garland, I ended up alternating between the large and the small bead and just going back and forth between the two. Now we're moving on to the super small beads. Now I'm doing the same thing that I did with the tape on the end of the twine. However, this would be way easier if you have a needle on hand. However, I do not. But sort of the same concept, just stringing as many as I can and then pulling them through to the twine. So now we're making the little parts that hang from the main part of our garland, the little star and the little tiny beads that go along with that. So I am sectioning off my beads into sections of 10, and then I'm going to start on one end of my twine. I'm going to add my star, make sure that is secure, and then I'm going to pull the beads down onto that. I'm then going to add just a little knot at the top of the beads to help secure those, and then I'm making sure that I have plenty of twine at the top to tie those onto my main garland. So I do 10 sets of the stars with the 10 beads, and then I'm going to do another 10 sets but with 15 beads this time. So with the 20 sets of stars and our 3 garlands, we ended up doing 7, 7, and 6, and I ended up alternating between the 10 and the 15 sets of beads. Thank you so much for hanging out with me while we made the silver star garland. I love how this DIY Christmas dupe turned out. Let me know your thoughts and any questions that you have down in the comment section. Remember to check out the supplies list located down in the video description, and I will see you again soon.